we got it all opened up. Good afternoon and welcome to the vlog. It is a very exciting day. As you can see, we have pretty much everything in the garage cleaned up. Well, not everything, but we're getting there. I have pretty much everything off the walls except for the banner and the flag and the flag and the banner slash flag and that banner, but it's coming along. We have toolboxes ready to go. They are cleaned out for the most part. I figured it would be easier to move them without hundreds of pounds of tools inside. We have my Adams Polishes stuff that we're going to be using today. Contractor cleanup bags for moving stuff. This is a box full of license plates, and my skateboard, which I do ride sometimes. But this whole moving thing is tough. Tougher than I thought it was going to be. You know, you never think that you have too much stuff until you have to move everything that you own, and then you realize, wow, I have a lot of shit. What this stuff does is it destroys brake dust, and it targets brake dust specifically. And as you can see, it works pretty damn good, I have to say. Unfortunately, brake dust is quite a problem for me. You know, when you have to slow down from 150 miles an hour on a regular basis in Mexico, you know, it tends to build up. And no, this video is not sponsored by Adams. It could be, but it's not. As for why I decided to wash my car in the garage, enough about all of that, the whole cleaning thing, because today's video is not about cleaning the Corvette or about the Corvette at all. It is in fact about the Duramax. I'm gonna walk you through the entire build, every single piece that I've bought for that truck since day one. And to do that, we're gonna need to go to my super secret Duramax filming location behind the Target on Jonestown Road, Harrisburg, PA 17112. That noise all on its own gotta be worth at least 50K. I like to use this spot here when it's windy because, as you can see, blocked in by walls, and usually the audio is pretty good. But anyway, I'm gonna take you through the entire truck build. I'm gonna show you all the quirks and features. I'm gonna name each part and how much that part costs. I'm not really gonna explain the part too much because that would take far too long, but I will kind of briefly tell you what it is. And we're gonna start with the engine, and let's go ahead and start with the EGR Delete, which is an SDP EGR Delete. It is right there. EGR is your exhaust gas recirculation, and it does exactly what it sounds like. It, under certain circumstances, actually takes air from your engine, expelled air from your exhaust, puts it back into the engine, and that is not good. It's an emissions part, as you would guess, but it's not something that you want. It will cause problems over time, which is why it's best to delete it. That's when people talk about deleting their truck, that right there. So that is $280. Then we have an S&B cold air intake. Love the company S&B. They make great parts for a great price. The intake is $250. And then their turbo inlet manifold, that little second piece right there, that connects directly to the turbo, that was $180. Now, you need that for an LLY, which is what I have, an LLY Duramax, because the stock inlet manifold for the turbo is not a very good design. It has a very sharp, it's basically a right angle, and it's very narrow on the inside, whereas that is much more open and has a smooth curve to it. Some people upgrade to the LBZ, the 2007 Duramax, late 6 and 7 Duramax inlet manifold, but I just went with an S&B because I knew it would match the intake. And then we have a Deviant PCV reroute, which is rerouted over here. And again, this is just your crankcase ventilation, does the same thing. Normally it connects back into the engine. When you do the reroute, dumps it out on the side of the truck. Believe it or not, that is about it for the engine. It's pretty much a stock truck, which was my goal from the beginning. Not really to go for crazy power, just to make it more reliable and a little bit more fun. Let's stick to the front of the truck here, and let's talk about the custom headlights. Now these were custom built for me by a guy down in Florida. His name is Nick. His company is SoFlo Retros, and these were about $350. The front Road Armor Stealth Series bumper with the bull bar option was $1,800. The winch was $300, and then the Rigid Industry LED cubes were $280. When I first got my truck, it didn't have towing mirrors and had the extendable, like regular mirrors. Looked terrible. So I bought an old set of towing mirrors for $180, and then recently I bought these new 2015 style mirrors for $180 as well. And then my window tint, 10 up front, a 5% banner, and then 5 on all the back windows. That was $200, and the blacked out cab lights, you can see up there. Those were 40 bucks. Everything, by the way, except for the tint, everything, the mirrors and the cab lights bought on eBay, and I have to say they work great. So cheap, but they do the job. One other engine mod I forgot to mention, and yeah, it's an engine mod, is my turbo back exhaust from MBRP. It is a 5-inch system, straight pipe, no muffler, no cat, anything, none of that bullshit. We don't want that. And I love it. That's how you get that big turbo noise. I used to run it out the back, but currently it's dumped under the cab for even more noise. And moving on to the lift kit, that was $550, by the way. I have a Zone off-road torsion bar drop system lift kit, and I love it. You know, I beat the piss out of this thing on a regular basis. I've taken this truck off-roading to the drag strip, 4-wheel drive launch multiple times at the drag strip. Road trips, drive it every day. I mean, it's just been great. I have no complaints, so I would definitely recommend them. It's a 6-inch lift kit, and then up front we have the upgraded upper control arm option, which was $300. Highly recommend building your front end. A lot of people make the mistake of, oh, I'll just lift my truck and that'll be fine, and then I'll put 200-pound wheels and tires on it and drive around with everything out stock, and it's going to be okay. And then they get pissed off when shit breaks. Look, if you're going to do one, do everything. And I've talked about this many times. Chevys are not, they do not have a solid front, so it's very important that not only you get better axles, but that your angles are good. You can see mine are pretty flat, which is what you want. You don't want angles where you see them like this, especially if you're going to run in 4-wheel drive. So that's a big one. Tie rods, a huge one. You definitely need tie rods. These are PPE HD tie rods. Those were $200. And that pretty much does it for the front end suspension components. But all of that stuff is really important to go along with your lift. Not a whole lot to see here. My back is just lifted with a 5-inch block, stock axle, really nothing to see. But I do have these traction bars from Longhorn Fab Shop. I love them, easy to install and super well made. They were $450. And moving on to the wheels and tires, I love these things as well. My Toyo Open Country MTs. I've run a few different brands of tires in my life with my trucks, and none of them have done this good. I have 20,000 miles on this truck with these wheels and tires, and you can see the tread, pretty damn good for a mud tire. For the set of 5, because I do have a full-size spare, the set of 5 was $1,700, and then my wheels are a 20x12 fuel hostage with a -44 offset, which is how you get the nice stance. If you want to know, it's all about the offset. They were, the set of 5 of the fuel hostage were, I think they were $1,400. Moving on to the back of the truck, you can see that we have another Road Armor bumper. This one not quite as much as the front. This was $1,200, and then more little Rigid Industry, not cubes this time, but they were like, I don't know, they're little floodlights or whatnot, and they were $200. And that's about it. Let's talk about for the bumper, let's talk about the bed rail covers. This was $200 from Bushwhacker, and I do not have a bed liner yet, but I plan to get one. I will not include that in the cost of the build, however. And that is gonna pretty much do it. Let me just make sure I'm not forgetting anything. But I think that's gonna do it for the outside. Oh, engine modifications. I do have tuning, EFI Live, tuned by Idaho Rob from ATP Trucks, and that was $700. You get the tuning, of course, and you're gonna need that, by the way, if you do a straight pipe exhaust and the EGR delete, you're gonna need tuning. And then you get the little tuner to go with it. You can change tunes on the fly. I'll demonstrate real quick. My fog lights, by the way, are wired down here. You can see that. But if you want to switch tunes, you get the little tuner when you do EFI Live. So you can, of course, you know, if you ever have a problem, an engine code, you can read it, you can clear it. Then if you want to switch tunes, you just go down here to switch, press OK. And you're going to have 5 tunes. You can get the optimized stock, heavy tow, light tow, street, which is what I use, and then performance if you're really trying to race somebody. I don't recommend driving on the performance tune all the time. It is harder on the truck, especially these with the Allison 5-speed transmission. They're a little bit weak when you put in a lot of power. They're really not meant to hold a lot of power over stock, unless of course you build it. So I run it just to be safe, and it's plenty fast, by the way. I do run it on the street tune. I don't have a lot done to the inside because, believe it or not, I know it sounds crazy. People are always saying, Mike, get a leather upgrade interior, get like all this stuff. I like the old school feel of the cloth and just the old school look. I don't know. I know it sounds fucking crazy, but I do like it. I did have to get a Pioneer head unit though, so I could listen to my music, and you can even cheat the system so you can watch movies and YouTube and shit while you're driving, which I did. Now of course, I don't sit there and like watch the screen, so don't be bitching at me in the comments. Obviously, when I'm driving, I pay attention, but for road trips, it's nice to have stuff playing in the background. and for the passengers, which I think is dumb. I hate the systems that don't let you do it, which I can understand. They don't want the driver to be unsafe, but what about everybody else in the truck? Why can't there be a system where everyone, I don't know, it just pisses me off. So that's the deal with the head unit. Other than that, totally stock. I do have LED lights from RVG Lighting, and that's it. If you are a fan of the channel, chances are you know that I already wrapped my truck once, and it's gonna be wrapped again next week, which, by the way, I cannot wait to show you guys the new wrap. It's fucking insane. You're gonna love it. But each wrap is about $4,000. Now we have to talk about the truck itself, which was $28,000. Believe it or not, it's definitely worth every penny of that, because this was a truck that I bought with 12,300 original miles. It was bought new from the Chevy dealership that I bought it from by an older gentleman who traded it in 2015 on a 2014 Duramax, and he had it since brand new and only drove it that much. I don't know why, but he bought a new truck. God bless him. He's 84 years old, I think they said, and he's got a new one. So if you're in the market for a 2014 Duramax, I mean, let's be real, he's not gonna, I mean, okay. Let's just say that there is going to be a really low mileage 2014 Duramax coming up for sale here soon, but that's why the truck was expensive. And just to show you that it's not crazy to pay that much, here are some other low mileage examples on Auto Trader right now. By the time you get done paying tax and tags and everything, it was about $30,000. If you're wondering what insurance is for a 23-year-old male with a somewhat, like, not too good, but not really that bad driving record, full coverage, hail damage, theft, flood, $1 million coverage for me, and everything like that, it's about $2,000 a year. Here's the fun part, and something that people love to ask, especially with the wheels and tires. They say, Mike, you know, what kind of gas mileage do you get? Well, over the past year and a half, I've driven this truck 17,300 miles, and my average MPG is about 16. So if you take 17,000 divided by 16 and you multiply that by the current average of diesel here in PA, over the past 18 or so months, I've spent just about $3,100 on diesel. And so that is how I spent $60,000 on my 12-year-old Duramax. And you know what? Totally worth it.